Yeah, we're live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of DESIGNathon. I'm super excited for today's topic. Officially, we're calling it the new AI jobs you haven't heard of yet, but unofficially, we're going to talk about that and everything in between as far as how to get work and how to upskill for this new job market. And of course, as always, I'm here with my partner in crime, Manaz. Manaz, you want to say hi?
Sure. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here again. And this time we have two wonderful guests, Harsha and Polly. And I would like to ask them to introduce themselves a little bit and tell us a little about what they do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks so much for having us. My name is Polly Allen. I was formerly a principal product manager at Amazon's Alexa AI. We were working in generative AI since 2019, 2018. I did leave in 2022 to start my own company, AI Career Boost, where I help product managers, product leaders, other business professionals leap into careers in AI leadership with my program, the AI Career Boost Blueprint.
Nice. Thank you, Harsha.
Hi, everyone. My name is Harsha Srivatsa, and I'm a proud graduate and alumni of Poly's AI Career Boost program. That's one of the pivotal moments in my life where I really said that the AI is going to be my direction to be, even though I'd worked in AI for quite a bit before that. So I describe myself as an AI product builder. So I'm all about the know-how of AI and know about what AI's promises and then applying it to problems. So currently at Nano Kernel, I'm deep in the woods about building the new generation of AI virtual micro data centers that is offering compute for the AI workloads for companies of all sizes at a manageable cost and manageable operations. And then I'm delving into the next wave, which I call physical AI, where AI will meet the digital and physical world, impacting our real lives and making a real difference. And the concept of 95% failure does not come in. It has to be 100% failure because we're talking about real impacts in real lives.
Mm-hmm.
So my journey in AI started about 7-8 years ago. I was working with a joint initiative between Cognizant and IBM Watson Services for insurance and financial services. Worked on it for 2 years, and it tanked spectacularly because of IBM Watson's downfall. And then after that, I did some IoT product work and data product work with companies like Apple, Schneider Electric, and others. And then experimented with building a few solutions of my own in the mental health space, in the smart agriculture space, vertical farms in Abu Dhabi, traffic management in Singapore, and things like that. And now I'm all about finding my niche and contributing what I can in the new and disruption AI and helping the next generation of AI natives realize that potential in this new AI is inevitable. So what can I do to make it work properly for all of us and responsibly too?
Amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing, Harsha. And I will add to that, Harsha writes some of the best articles on LinkedIn. Go find them. Go read them. You will learn tons. And I will say, Polly's was a lot of y'all that listen have followed my zero job to great new job 3-year span. And it all started with Polly and Polly's product at AI Career Boost. So give that a Google as well.
Doors are open. Come in for a fair.
And honestly, the three of us have been talking about AI jobs for 3 years together. And I think we're all kind of uniquely situated to speak to this from a different perspective from each other. One of the first things I think we need to kind of speak about is the AI will take your job narrative, and the new titles, and kind of how do we take our old titles and grow them into those new titles. So if you guys want to kind of take that, I know, Harsha, you have a 3-box method for finding AI work. So let's just talk about all that like friends. So why is there so much talk about AI is taking all the jobs? And then what do you think the new jobs will be?
I have a perspective on this. And the analogy I always like to draw is with the airline industry. When you think back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, when they were first automating, aviation and pilots, there was a similar fear of like, oh no, we're not going to have pilots anymore. Like that industry is dying. Don't go be an airline pilot. And interestingly, that wasn't how it worked out, right? And I think that we're going through something similar right now, where there was a motion towards automate all the things, automate all the people. I incidentally do think we're still coming out of like the overhiring and companies not wanting to be, they would rather be too lean than too fat in terms of hiring, coming into a period of change where they want to be agile and pick up people with the right skills as things are changing. But to go back to the airline, analogy, there was a very long and painful period full of horrible crashes and accidents of trying to automate too much, realizing that there's good reasons to have people involved. One, because people won't get on an airplane without some accountability and ownership of like, hey, who's going down if this doesn't work? So socially, but also just the way these systems work, people are better at responding to incidents in new contexts that the systems haven't seen, right? We have direct analogies with AI on that, right? And it took a lot of time for them to work out, how do we make collaborative systems where the people aren't just sitting there watching for an alarm to go off and then being asked to respond with no information. A lot of accidents, a lot of trial and error, but in the end, it made the entire airline industry so much more safe that we can run thousands of these airline flights where before we could run dozens, and we have many more pilots involved, but their role has changed completely, right? Instead of being an operator, they're a manager. So that's how I think of a lot of our roles changing, is like, instead of the pointing and clicking to shuffle things between forms that we're so used to doing, what if that all went away, but we were overseeing everything? I hope we're moving towards that, but I anticipate we're going to have some pain along the way, just like they did in the airline industry, unfortunately.
Take it away, Harsha.
Yeah. So I have a different take on the impact of AI in jobs and careers. And what I feel is there are definitely certain areas where AI should step in and take some roles and some jobs away. And there are certain areas where we should really step back and ask the question, are we trying to replace or doing this job just for the sake of AI? So let me talk on the first part. Why should lawyers charge $550 to read a document for me and then tell me whether this contract is good or not?
Mm-hmm.
And I find that not only very egregious in terms of cost, but also in the term of times. They take 2 weeks and then they come back with something and say, hey, I charged you $1,000 for telling me something that I could read or not, but just this. And we have to ask the questions, are we able to process information at scale, do things that, which is a little bit beyond the capability of humans? Can humans talk 100 languages at the same time, translate from one to another, which is a reality in the globe today? Can humans process something which is probably automatable or not? So, and there are certain things where I think definitely there are some blockers to innovation, causing end user friction, and then asking and like leads us to ask the question, why are things the way they are? Why can't they be improved? So I definitely think that some innovation, let's call it AI or automation or the application of intelligence to it and making it happen, and then enable us to process information. For example, AI is now able to design molecules and materials which probably used to take like years and years, or even probably cannot even think of. Or there is an AI-based medical system which knows everything we know currently about oncology and cancer, which no single doctor, I think, can fit into their mind. So there are areas where really AI should come in, step in, add that augmentation or a new dimension of capability, and probably should take the jobs away, because those jobs really currently today were not defined properly, or not meant for end users. But doing AI for AI's sake is where I think a lot of people are just going with the hype and then running into issues about oh, this is not working the way it should, right? Or this is not meeting my expectations or my success. This is not something, oh, I don't want to do this because tomorrow it can take my job away. So yeah, there's different ways of looking at it. And I think we need different kind of surfboards to ride the different kinds of waves. And the person who's able to really be agile and be a silver surfer is the one who's going to really, make this wave, ride the wave intelligently.
I love that, or Harsha. That I'm going to steal that just for your information. Can we just kind of throw out there some of the titles that we think are going to emerge? I caught one yesterday. Output authenticity auditor. That one really resonated because I feel like we need one of those at work. I'm like, oh, this is a new title, and we already need one. Which titles outside of like the typical now, like you keep seeing AI UX product designer and AI project manager, and like not those, right?
But not just take your role and make it AI kind of roles, right?
Like the real evolution.
There's a whole area I think gets slept on, which is kind of AI operations. And it was huge when we were at Alexa, where you're like, regardless if you have evaluation being done by an LLM in your operations, having humans say annotate, ground truth, and like having that kind of operations at a massive enough scale, that requires it can require a whole team of people just to organize like, hey, we have multiple third-party annotators and schlepping the data and controlling the different versions of the data. And I feel like companies kind of don't spin those up and then realize halfway through projects like, oh, wait, this is a big mess if we don't actually have kind of I think it was like the librarians of the data, right? Of like, you can check this out, who's got what version, what contracts are we managing. It's a really cool area that I think there's an opportunity for a lot of folks who aren't necessarily like engineers to really contribute to the area.
Yeah, there's literally memes about it, right? Like the mess, the data mess. Somebody has to clean that up.
And I know it's not necessarily called, I'm calling it AI operations, which gets confused because a lot of people use that for like, I am AI-ifying business. I am writing agents to, take over your operations. I mean more of like data operations. Is I think the title I've seen, like data operations manager, data operations owner. I think that's an area that'll definitely be growing.
So let me add a different perspective on this.
Please.
So predicting career paths and titles is a fun exercise. In fact, I wrote a LinkedIn article recently where I used what I called AI-based data analysis to analyze the data about what are the current career openings, what does the data point to, and where are the higher paying things. So I called it wipe data analysis and use the data itself to point. So what it revealed to me was that some of the titles, which I think is going to be both attractive from the remuneration as well as the impact, are going to be like Gen AI implementation people who have actually done a Gen AI thing from scratch and put it into production, so that all the battles and hard lessons work. So that's going to be one of the things, because Gen AI is the flavor du jour. And then the data also points to AI trust and safety, because I think people are beginning to understand the impact. So there's a person called Brian Kelmer who wrote how he pivoted himself from ex-Meta to AI trust and safety and got a job, right? So it's a viral post. And then I personally think that new multimodal AI where voice, speech come together, voice AI agents. So the data points to that. But we have to think of it from us humans, because, from a gut instinct and feel. And I like to add a perspective on that. So I think jobs as answers to problems. So there are problems that are being faced by companies, by industries, or, startups going to fill a niche problem area. So jobs are a reflection of that. And I would like to see this problem job creation from the 3-box framework. The 3 boxes it's a very simple thing. It's a framework which is attributed to Professor Vijay Govindarajan, Darden School of Business. So he says, when you look at innovation, you'll say, how do you manage the present thing that you have? And then branch out into two parts: is invent your future, and then forget the past selectively.
Mm.
So when we look at the jobs, we both as people taking into what AI can do, as well as companies, and they are capitalists, and they are in the business of business, right? They want to make money, they want to get more results. So we have to see that this thing, and if you use that, we can come up with different areas that is thing. For example, everybody's writing about AI agents, right? But there's one critical question: how will you make human agents and AI agents work together?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you need somebody called a moderator or an orchestrator and things like that. And that's a critical role without which you can't define the new paradigm of work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an orchestrator is not to be confused with the orchestrator in the AI agent technical architecture. This is actually a person who knows how to glue things together and make things
Mm-hmm.
together, right?
Which I think a lot of conversation designers are already doing that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you have a conversational interface along with, and people who think it. So there are different things that we should see how to solve real problems out there, and then define the job based on that. Whereas what is being happening is it's being very reactive. People face some things. People face, oh my God, I need somebody. I need an AI engineer, and I want to make magic happen. So what is the AI engineer supposed to do? So are they going to do something to solve really wicked problems today and getting the way, or should they invent the future? And the way I look at it is try to see problems and see what can we do, how can we define work for ourselves and solve problems. So if you look at the energy part, which I talked about a little earlier, is the energy demands are going to be there. It's a problem. So we have to forget the past about what we need to do. We need to see how to make use existing energy sources more efficiently, or invent new energy sources that is creating this thing. And now while there are blockers in terms of skills, knowledge, people, and compute and infrastructure, look at it from a point of view how we can overcome all that and go and really go towards the this thing. So the career paths can be can if to anyone, including myself, is how do you effectively solve the problems that companies are asking for? So I think that when Polly mentioned there's a surge of job listings, I think the problems are also huge, right? And everybody wants to do AI, so the problems are also growing, exponentially. So they want people to fix the problems. And unfortunately, there are very few credible people who have actually been there, done that, and solved the problems. So the three things. And that's where we should be looking at and seeing the problem fit gap. And all of that will decide how you define yourself. For example, and you're all about making AI very very, like natural and flowing and appealing to people. So that's a problem, right? We don't want people to reject AI and conversing with AI. But at the same time, we don't want AI projects to just be like a like a hype thing, and then not doing anything purposefully or usefully, or showing long-term potential in terms of making real impact to the business. And that's why they call it a failure. So it's not really a failure, right? So yeah, so the whole things, but there are very new things that will titles will emerge when people think creatively about what problems they're solving. It could be multimodal conversational AI designers. There could be people who, which I think I love to be, is I don't have data for this. I have a scenario, but I don't have any. Can I create data, right? Can I be a vibe data creative? Why can't I use AI to give the data that the AI really wants and then go with it? So I think we should be looking at what's the art of the possible. What can we solve to do the problems here? And then where can you create a niche for yourself, right? You are a designer, so designer can mean so many things, right?
Well, honestly, I feel like it means all the things right now.
Right.
Somebody just asked, in the evolving AI design field, should designers be generalists working across various AI-driven design areas, or specialize? It's like both. You have to be a triple threat specialist, right? Chat, voice, UI, like all of it right now. But I think it's all in its infancy right? And eventually we might be able to be specialists, but right now, because things are so up in the air and changing so fast, it's like, well, we need somebody who could do all the things, right?
Yeah.
But
so you'd encourage breadth over depth is what you're saying, and like
right now, I don't think it's going to stay like that, but right now, because one of the other things too, it's like right now it's AI everything, and then eventually we won't even talk about AI anymore. It will just be
background.
Yeah. So we're just like lucky enough to just be in this turbulent time of change.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll hear a question I answered last year. I'm like, oh my God, no, you shouldn't have said that. It's not even close, right? So, but I think people are very hungry to hear titles, right? Because people are looking for work. And they want to know what to look for. And like, all right, well, I'm a data person right now. What title should I be looking for if I want to work in the AI space? AI data person, so there's a lot of titles kind of being thrown around, but the reality of them, I haven't, like, model validator, a prompt engineer. I see jobs all the time for that. It's part of my job. But also the LLMs are getting better at the humans at writing those prompts. So I like knowledge engineer. Like, if you called me that, I'd be thrilled, because it's prompting, it's RAG, it's data management, it's all and model validator is probably not a full-time job. So I'm curious how that will all unfold, but mostly my audience knows me as the person who is trying to help them get work, right? That's so how do we help people make this transition? How do designers make the transition? If you're an AI ML developer, I don't think anything is different now than it was. I'm not sure. I just feel like those jobs have always existed and will continue. So it's the ones that are changing, like, can a data scientist become a model validator, or like, how do we take our existing roles and know which path to head down for the roles of the future?
Yeah, I think it's about whether you want to embrace like generalist skills and be like I think like a prompt engineer, it doesn't necessarily leverage your existing subject matter expertise, right? But something like output validator, model validator is probably, we actually need SMEs to look at this and understand if something is really right, really valuable for our users, or wrong, right? And so those are kind of the two paths I see, the roles coming in on. And so I think designers can kind of pick, especially if they're like, I don't want to embrace like conversation design, multimodal design, all of it, AI design for AI interfaces that aren't conversational, right? There's lots of ways to pick that is not specific to like knowing an industry really deeply. Or you can go down the path of being like, hey, I actually really specialize in knowing the kinds of workflows that really, really work in healthcare. It really, really work in areas. So it's interesting. I do think that the titles are changing. I struggle to come up with like, oh, don't apply for X, apply for interaction superpower AI person or something. Like there's a lot of companies calling it a lot of different things, and they're still working out how they want to arrange these things too, right? Common to them, though, I think what you said, Anne, I love that like knowledge architect, engineer, like that piece. So I think that's the one area to encourage all, specifically design, to lean into, is like there's this back end of taking data and arranging it, whether it's into knowledge graphs, into databases, into vector stores,
that just NLP.
Techie piece. Yeah, exactly. That is like, that's where an understanding can really be a superpower for designers, I think, is that just like a little more technical depth in understanding how knowledge is arranged in the back end to make your answers really valuable.
I think you and Harsha are uniquely qualified to answer a huge question, is like the project manager. What's the deal?
What's the deal?
What's going on?
AI project manager.
Yeah, AI project. What does that even mean?
Totally.
We also have this question about product manager.
Yeah, I'd love your take on that one. Is that AI orchestrator role, is that a product manager, or is it's a new role?
Oh, okay. So since
Does it
I
overlap?
mentioned it,
Yeah.
I think it's is it a product manager oriented role? Probably not. And let me explain why. It, I'll be very upfront. It's going to be a short tenure role. It's only till we understand how to fully make AI agents and human agents work together. And once we figure it out, I think the need for it will die down. But we need it absolutely today, because that can spell the difference between success and failure of this AI agent hype, right? Everybody talks about agents and stuff and things like that, but ultimately they don't understand that they're serving the human customers, and humans do need to be integral part of it. There's no way out of it, right? So yeah, so I think that as a person who's more of like a operations guy, like understands both, and how to make it work, and yes, probably a product manager can evolve into it, but I think it's a role by itself. But
Interesting.
coming back to the question about specific titles and AI design, so I'll start by saying the core AI work, it's very hard to get into and very hard to make an impact. So core AI, the people who are doing this LLMs training and this thing and coming up with new
Foundation model builders,
yeah,
that kind of
it's
thing.
the barrier to entry for people is really very high today, and you needed to have some specific path in the past, like you've done some PhD, or you've done some work for that, and I think there's a saturation of people at this point. They are the people who have really established themselves, and and getting the multi-million-dollar offers from Mark Zuckerberg and other people. But now breaking into that is a futile exercise, if you ask me. Not because it's not a good career path, but by the time you get competent and you get knowledgeable, the state of AI would move so fast that you would not be on the cutting edge. It's only the people who had a foundation. But coming back to the applied parts of the AI, I think that there is specificity in roles, and what problem solving or what areas that you're capable of evolving into and handling. That's what's going to matter. So the specific segments that you put in the design part of AI is going to be very valuable, and people who are very very conversant with conversational flows, right? So adapting that to the AI part, and then people making the end user experience a great UX experience, adapting that to the AI part. So I think there's going to be specific value added niche roles that are going to be very valuable for bringing all this to work together. But again, I think that a design thinker, right, AI design thinker, who's going to understand the empathy, the values, what problems are you really solving. So that's overarching role will be there, but I think more of that as a consulting role. But within the AI design space, I think specific things like how you pointed out, right, the ethics part, the conversational part, the UX part, I think that's going to be very well defined. And it's not rocket science. It's actually the adaptation of what people are doing so great today and making it work for the AI-driven world. That's one thing. But I think, sorry, let me finish this.
Go ahead.
I think the other parts about how business analysts work today, right, like defining needs, requirements, specifications, that is going to be a hot part, because you just cannot do AI like a shiny thing or a toy. You need real problems, real specs, and this thing. And the classic way of doing business analyst roles and project manager roles is going to be, again, a bread and butter thing. You need people to drive AI initiatives. It's not like you can write code in a week, an actual and AI enterprise application. If somebody claimed that did that, I would not touch it with a 10-foot stick, right? So and I would not touch it. It's good for influencers. It's good for saying, "Hey, I did this," but I wouldn't trust it with my actual work and things, right? So so I think the classic roles will really evolve. And the other roles, specific things like, I don't know, even AI orchestrator or model validator or AI, I think those are going to be evolved based on time. And the catch with that is one has to be really on the crest and see how it evolves. What do you think is responsible AI today may not be what is responsible tomorrow. So it could be. So those are things, but there are certain core roles like, experienced designers, the process people, the project people, the engineering people, and evaluating the trust and safety of the products. Those are going to be quite stable. But all other fancy titles will come and go, and this thing. But I think there's going to be some core stable things. So that's what I wanted to say. Something you had. I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What is it?
No, I had a question, but now I had a different question based on everything you just said. But let me go back to the first one. So the first one is real short and simple. So project management, is it dead or not?
Yeah, I want to talk. I'm excited to talk about project management because I think that's something that, like, it often falls on product managers, or even it can fall on designers, right? I know in a lot of places having a real dedicated project manager could already be kind of a luxury, and I've seen so much casting that like the busy work AI will replace is all this like shuffling paper around, and that as implying that like the work of project management is that, right? That it's like setting up a meeting and then making sure the notes in the meeting get sent out to people. When I don't know, I think there's so many things we do that are part of a process of getting alignment and everyone on the same page about what we're building and why, and actually getting people to agree on something, that the documents are just like the evidence or the final output of doing all that work. Because generative AI can create documents, we often fall into this thing where we're like, we can generate this document. Like, why don't we just do that? You're like, because you didn't generate everyone being on the same page and the alignment that needed to come from that document, right? And if everyone's note takers got together in a Zoom meeting and had a conversation, decided, like, that's great, but like that doesn't actually mean the people involved who are responsible for the results, by the way, are all in. The most obvious one for me in this is always like the product requirements documents generators, right? Which are great, and they're going to save you tons of time, and you're going to actually massively accelerate the process. But no one writes a PRD, shows up to a meeting with a VP in a big company and is like, here's this amazing PRD, give me $2 million in a vacuum, right? That's a multi-week or month process to get everyone aligned on why we're building it, and does PR agree, and does legal have sign off? Like, so it's that confusion of like the actual work and the digital product getting created that sometimes get missed. I especially see this with like Gen Z folks new to the workforce, where they're like, well, it should just be totally merit driven, and if I show up with the best PRD ever, like, of course it should get funded with like no additional scrutiny. And you're like, it's just not how people work, man. Right? So I still think there's like an ignorance of the human processes behind this whole function X is dead kind of rhetoric, right?
I mean, I wish Jira was dead, but that's a whole
exactly. I would
whole other story.
Absolutely. Can we just have a conversational someone
We
who
need
keeps
to have a
everything in
separate
Jira?
episode for
Yes,
Jira.
things we wish.
And just adding to what fantastic perspectives from Polly is the disciplines of project management and product management need to be looked at with fresh eyes when it comes to AI. Now,
Yeah.
Dr. Andrew Nigg came out openly and said that product management is a blocker to creating AI products. He openly came and said, and there's validity in what he's saying. Now, project management, ironically, I don't think Agile is well suited to the AI era. It creates more problems than solutions. So I think going back to some of the traditional spiral things, because AI does not behave in an agile way. You cannot make it work with sprints and backlogs and things like that. The model training itself is an exercise. So some re-harkening back to earlier project management practices should be done for the AI part. Whereas in the product part, I think we should stop looking beyond the traditional things of like what Polly said, PRDs, right?
Yeah.
The product, the product is the product. You need to build a product to validate what we need to build the product. So, while the specs and understandings and everything is there, it should not come in the way of rapid engineering. And I agree with Dr. Angudnik on that. It's a great viewpoint. But if we manage AI projects the way we are doing today in terms of sprints, backlogs, Gantt charts, I'm sure it's going to lead to failure.
Oh, Harsha, say it louder. Please share the link to your article about that. I shared it with my VP of AI. I think you're spot on there. I just think that nothing else exists yet that's tried and true. So we're just doing what we know and kind of figuring it out what's working, what isn't as
correct. And coming back to this team, the primary purpose of project management is to ensure the project goes according to plan, schedule, time, and success metrics, right? You deliver what you ideate. If you try to fit in what we're doing in a thinking that you're going to do it rapidly and quickly, it's going to fail because AI doesn't work like that.
I think it's the way I think of it is, I don't see it as like a failure of Agile, but I think you have to adapt Agile. And I always think of it as like Agile on steroids, because you have more teams involved usually, because you're like, someone has to be building the long-term data pipelines in the background because that takes so long. While you're like, yeah, but we don't really know what we're going to deploy yet, because we've got to iterate. So there's like a quickness and a speed that's needed in that iteration, but you can't put that same pressure on being like, well, but what are you delivering in 2 weeks? So we would often have what we knew was time-boxed experiments of going like, can we get accuracy to 85%? And it takes a lot of faith on the part of leadership, because you're like, we actually don't know, and we are going to spend time on something that might be throwaway work. So that anticipating that is new and different for folks who have been in a very traditional Agile that are seeing it like, okay, 2 weeks to do this and then 2 weeks to do that. You have to be like, we're leaving room for experiments. Maybe the only tasks they have for this 2-week sprint is run experiment, right? And you let them be to move as quickly as they can in that like little scoped area, right? That was the only way we managed to keep like chaos from reigning in terms of like keeping the development on track. And we would say, we'll do this and we'll try it and we'll see if we can get to that in 3 months. And if not, we're going to back off and try a different approach. But it's still Agile in my mind, but just a completely new methodology, right?
What do you all think about the new bottlenecks? I keep seeing that terminology, the new bottlenecks, the evals and whatnot. What do you think there's any positions coming out of that, or do you think that will level off, or what thoughts on that? What are they first, right? What are the new bottlenecks?
I loved Harsha mentioned Andrew Ng talking about product as a bottleneck. When you have teams that can now, like development teams that can move 10x, maybe more faster, you get more swings at bat when you're looking to try to get to product market fit. But then you need someone who's really savvy to say, what bets should we take, right? So that piece, I think that's squarely product, right? That's very much a product role to kind of make the savvy bets. Hey, with the resources we have, I can make 10 more bets than I could yesterday, but which ones should we do? But evals is another one too, that I just think that's, we've been running it into it in the Blueprint course recently, where people are like, hey, I can build this thing really fast. So how do I do the evaluation? And then you start looking into how much work it is to actually making something reliable. You're like, all this trade-off of being able to whip up a prototype in 15 minutes using Lovable comes out in the back end of like, oh, to make it actually useful, it's so much more work than I thought, right?
Yeah.
So
and testing.
Yeah, exactly. Testing, even just specifying what does right look like. I think, that it's product managers working with subject matter experts, right? And so that's going to require coordination and getting everyone on the same page to agree.
So the blockers part is very interesting, and I'd like to see it both from the business point of view as well as from the techno-functional point of view. And the business point of view is pointing to some very new trends. Ravi Mehta says that the concept of product market fit is no longer a viable concept for AI products. You could actually see variable product market fit You could see collapses of your product market fit, and you could see times where you achieve a very quick product market fit and then have it collapse and then take a longer cycle to it. So the classic way of crossing the canyon and going to product market fit is gone.
Interesting.
Right, that's one thing. Second thing is data as the competitive differentiation. That still stands. Every company like Google or Facebook used to be that they said my competitive differentiation is I collected all this data today. And it's very hard for another company to replicate that because they don't have the same variety, diversity, or the scale of data and users. So how do companies come up with that? So now we have the era where you can generate very realistic data and overcome that data blocker, right? So data is still a very good competitive differentiation and a blocker for most companies. Let's say they want to do a social media platform, right? So it's still a huge data. You don't have that knowledge crafting, but you can overcome that. You can overcome companies trying to do, like, I don't know, medical diagnosis with AI. You can really create synthetic users. You can create synthetic data and overcome that. But I think the biggest blocker today is competitive differentiation. How the heck would you do a project or a product, something which can be sustainably competitive for you? This thing. I mean, even big companies like Google are facing so much competitive differentiation from other companies and other companies in other countries like China. So how do you even accelerate your competitive differentiation and the strategies all associated with it so that you're on the lead, you're in the cusp today? I mean, it's very likely that something done by a Chinese company, a financial trading company, comes out and disrupts the whole OpenAI. People started questioning OpenAI's viability and business strategy, and then the stock market tanks so badly, right? So business wise, how do companies stay afloat? They're still on the edge, they're still the sought after company, and they are managed to keep their differentiation or this thing going forward. That's a huge thing. Anybody can wipe code something and say, oh my god, my thing is going to work much better than you, and all the great for it. But there's so much happening. OpenAI introduces learning mode, the Google introduces this.
Yeah.
So it's creating a confusion for end users. But overall, I think my mindset is there is always a way out of a blocker. And we live in very exciting times where we can do things that we were not possible. For example, I can create an entire AI film today just from my thinking. I can actually produce a good quality science fiction thing, the thing which is today, which previously I could not. I mean, I don't want to go to and become a filmmaker from this, but today I can do it. But at the same time, so many other people do it. So what makes me a good AI filmmaker than the other, right? Can I become a Steven Spielberg? I don't think so. Can anybody become a Steven Spielberg? No. Yeah. So the competitive thing, the whole business models, this thing, most likely the adoption of end users, I think that's going to be the biggest blocker. There's going to be a backlash against AI, which unfortunately I don't know what the path is around, right? So and I talked about the have and have-nots. How do you make it global equity in the AI spot? Those are all bigger blockers, I think, than saying, okay, I need to do ethics, I need to do this and things. So markets, adoption, the way you look at the competitive differentiation, and then disruption by new kids on the block. So those are all blockers, I think, still remain challenging.
Which blockers have you seen talked about, Anne? You're mentioning you'd seen them spoken about.
I don't remember right now. I was so busy formulating my next questions.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's. I think what's interesting, and it kind of touches on those blockers, is what I'm seeing in building voice products. Right, I do a lot of IVR to AI conversions. Is adoption is equal to generation. There's like this generational design,
Mm,
whereas Gen Z does not want to talk to a human,
mm,
and boomers get irate when they cannot get a human. And then there's a bunch of people in between.
yeah.
So how do you design for all of them? So I don't know so much of
Mm,
that's a blocker as it is a new way of having to design things.
hmm.
But it's real. It's
Yeah.
really real. Like if you look at the self checkout in the grocery store, it's the younger crowd, and if you look at the people waiting for a human, it's an older crowd generally.
Yeah.
So it's there's definitely some preferences and things around that. I don't know if it's exactly a blocker, but some of the things I wanted to dive into is, like, I call it LinkedIn BS. Like, there's so many headlines, and then everybody posts, and it was like BS to begin with, but everybody posted around it anyway. And one of those things was like 95% of AI projects fail.
Mm-hmm.
I know this isn't true because I'm working on AI products that aren't failing.
Exactly.
In my tiny little world. So I would love some thoughts on that from everybody.
Well, they keep. I think it's every 3 months one of these posts comes out, and it's very like, oh, blah blah blah. 95% of proofs of concept fail. Exactly. That's what proofs of concept are for. Hello. Like, why is this? Why are you using
It's a
this?
word game.
Yeah, exactly. And just like, so we were just talking about how agile is changing, and you're like, you're gonna have to place. You have all this AI to use to make you move faster. Use it to place more bets, because you're going to have to take more risks and see what works, right? Something as simple as like choosing the best LLM for your use case is not like you can just go to some guru and they're going to tell you, right? It's evolving every month as new use cases, new
And they
LLM
take them away.
or take it away. Exactly. Right. So you need to develop that capacity to, hey, we try a bunch of LLMs, and we are constantly looking at which ones succeed and which ones fail, and are able to take out a new model on, right? So that moving really fast is what it is in that capacity is what it's all about. And so, yeah, I was like, of course, we're taking 100 times more chances and at bats to figure out what's working and what's not. And we're getting to the 5% that's working. Everything is working as it should be. Like, that's exactly what I would expect from the current systems. It's very like, it was just strange to me to even see these headlines come out as sort of a doomer, the AI bubble is bursting kind of talk, because I was like, this is how things work now. Sorry that you have to take so many bits that don't work. The ones that do work are going to give you 100x return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, what do you think, like, these skills that everyone should know in the future, like future jobs, like something that it's in common about, it's gonna be in common in all areas, and everyone should know them to, like, they can do the job in the AI
Yeah.
era.
To me, the biggest thing is a deeper understanding and looking at data and thinking about how it's organized. Right. I think Anne brought it up at the very beginning, right? That like knowledge engineering, right?
Yeah, knowledge.
Making information, in whatever format it comes in and useful, right? And having enough of that depth to organize it in ways that it can be used by these systems. I think everyone can benefit from knowing a little bit more about that.
So let me answer that. I think the biggest skill people should develop is what I call AI IQ, or the cognitive ability to understand what AI can or cannot do and apply it and make it as something that is part of your cognitive skills, like how you have emotional IQ, you have other subject matter IQ. I think AI IQ is something that should really be there, and that translates into AI literacy and AI fluency and things like. It doesn't matter what your role is. You could be designer, it could be engineer, it could be operations. If you don't understand, or if you're not AI aligned, and you don't have the grasp of what it is about, you're not going to be part of that. You're going to be a Luddite. So developing your AI IQ, and I wrote a little article about it. What does it mean? What are the dimensions of it? Is the common thing that everybody should do. Everybody should have. Correct? And if you take standardized tests like GRE, what are they? They are measuring your proficiency in IQ, in quantitative, in logical reasoning to a certain extent. And that's the equivalent. Yeah, you should be somewhat fluent, proficient, and understand the potential of AI to be in an AI field. So that's what I call AI. And then you can specialize into different things. What you think, is aligned with you and your passion and things like that can be any flavor.
Yeah.
But coming back to the 95%, I have an interesting take. So you imagine if, let's say, my my stakeholder, my VP comes and throws this MIT printed article and says, "Hey, 95% of the projects, what do we do for the next quarter?" And I said, "So what? There is so much value in learning what works and what doesn't work. And overall, it's better to know and confirm what doesn't work than to be in the sea of ignorance and bliss, thinking that everything is going to work out."
Exactly.
And then think about the 5% part. So I thought very deeply about what exactly is the value delivered today by AI or generative AI, and what can it do in the future. So my answer with that is, okay, fine, 95% failed. What does that failure mean? What does it impact? But what if I take that 5% and deliver so much outstanding value from what worked, so that the impact from the 95% is eclipsed by orders of magnitude? In any disruptive thing, there are things that are bound to not to work. There are bound to things that will not go as designed. Perhaps you didn't understand the problem very clearly. You did it for the wrong reason. You did it, AI is not the answer to everything.
Yeah.
But from a perspective, I can tell you that the 5% part will give so much ROI that your failure, 95% failure, is just going to go, the paper is just going to go into the shredder. I don't care.
Yeah.
The 5%, yeah, it's the 80-20 principle, right? The 20% part is what gives it outstanding value. Never mind the 80%. So that's why.
And the 80% is still valuable because you're learning from it what
Correct.
doesn't work. Right?
Yeah. And I would say, look, if you are smart, we would make this equation go from 85 to 15 to 70 to 30 to 50 to 50. If you achieve 50 to 50, my job is done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would look at. So again, I would ask, don't go with the doomsday thing. Are you AI in or AI out? And how do you want to make this work in such a way? Lovable had the biggest ARR ever in history, right? 3 months.
Fastest to 10 million ARR.
Yeah. Then that's the 5% part. It's working, right? People are adopting. There is growing. And if you are a business, if you're a big company, if you're a big executive in a big company, go look at Lovable, study its models, learn from its founders, and then make it come back and say, that thing that works for us, for our problems, appeals to our customers, make it go and blow it in such a way that this talk of failure is just a footnote.
Are you not concerned for companies like Lovable now, though? I'm concerned for the longevity.
Well, I mean, companies come and go, right? I mean,
right, but there's a lot of companies following the same model, like creating the same thing, and like, the vibe coding is cool and all, but you're not getting an enterprise job doing that. So I wonder if all those posts about this tool and that tool aren't doing a disservice to people. It's like pulling their time away with these shiny new things.
But they are demonstrating the value that software engineering and building software products can be democratized and can be rolled out to so many different people, right? That you can see the value they are delivering. The 5% part is you can democratize the process of taking an idea and building a product in record time.
A product or a prototype?
Well, I've seen people not necessarily in Lovable, but I think it does a disservice to say all they can build is prototypes, right?
Yes.
Because you have a spectrum from Lovable all the way to like Windsurf, Cursor, Augment, where you're like, you can vibe code something really quickly and it barely works and there's no security. You can also build something that is secure and where people are building businesses, niche businesses and stuff using these tools. So I do think it's proving out, and it's only getting better in those respects.
And
Right.
I think the end goal of making a minimum lovable prototype is very achievable by people today.
Yeah.
So
It is, but is it
Sorry.
something enterprise will ever adopt?
I mean, I think they're adopting it for prototypes, and I do think that we will get to the point where we're seeing at least like certainly internal tools being developed that way at enterprise for sure. And I think the main piece that they a lot of people haven't talked about is like the operations and maintainability of those things long term, right? That's where where the rubber really hits the road in terms of.
Mm-hmm.
But they're knocking down these challenges one by one. I was a skeptic, and absolutely, I think you remember people were banging down my door, a year ago to be like, we only want to use these app builder things for prototypes, and I'm like, ugh. I want people to understand the back end, what they're building. Let's start with no code tools. And again and again, I've just been like, I was a skeptic, but the thing everyone bitches about, they handle 3 months later, So I do think that there's a future where much less technical people are very empowered. It still needs a lot of good once over and stuff like that by engineering before you would actually say it can scale and to take it live.
I don't doubt that they will evolve into exactly what they need to be, but my concern is right now with the job market the way it is it smart for people who are trying to get work to play with these shiny new things or work on skills we know enterprise wants, right? That's my concern, because remember,
that's a good point. It can get very distracting. You can spend and it's addicting too. So you can then, but you're like, okay, but are you just building something anybody can now build with these tools?
Right. All those people who are unemployed, like the ones that kill me the most, I'm like the mom to the world. I just graduated college, have all this debt, and everything I learned isn't going to get me hired. Now, what do I do? And I like to point them to things that will actually end in a job for them. So I feel like I love all this. I mean, I could do it all day long. It is fun and it's awesome. And some people are able to turn it into a business. But I wonder the value in worrying about or putting it as a priority right now when you're trying to get work. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
I think it will help in demonstrating the fact that it'll help solopreneurs and startup wannabes, right? Will definitely help and get something out to the market, validate it and test it and see if the users want. For people who are looking for jobs, it does definitely help in demonstrating a product portfolio, right? A portfolio of things, saying that, look, you understand the process and you're making something workable. The no hyphen how I talked about. So I think it definitely helps. But the issue is that a lot of other people are doing the same. So how
exactly, it can't be the only thing.
Yeah.
Exactly, to your point. And
we have 2 minutes left. So rapid fire. As far as hiring, it's like everybody's saying, oh, nobody's hiring because AI is taking all the jobs. 1 minute each, true or false? Go ahead.
False. I think that the jobs are changing and new jobs are emerging. Get a little deeper in, as Harsha put it, your AI IQ to understand especially how data can be organized, and get into the market in any capacity to get subject matter expertise. That's what's going to be valuable in the job market.
Yeah. So my take is you will definitely get jobs, but it will take a little longer. So the trick is to understand what problems companies are facing. What is in the job description, right? Don't do easy apply. At least go and read the job description. What are they really asking for? And tailor and see if you can position yourself for that. Even if you don't have the knowledge, skills, and experience, come out with some pitch saying, how would you do if you're hired, and do this thing. The AI is definitely creating jobs. The September surge is real, like what Polly Allen said. It's probably going to do these things. But having being a one-trick pony is not going to help. So we need to have an endurance mindset and apply for it and be adaptable and do this thing. But I definitely think that some jobs will go away, but the net impact will be very positive, and people should be resilient and reinvent themselves in different ways. So read the job, see what they're asking for, and tailor yourself for it. The idea of pedigree or degree skills is no longer there. You can basically show what the heck you can do. That's why vibe coding is there. You can show people what you can do, and what ideas you can do, and most importantly, can you solve the problem if you're hired and come on on board on day one. So be ready for that, and then you'll have the job. It just take a little longer. Sorry for that. It's that's the nature of the beast.
So really quick, I know we only have 2 minutes, but I think this is super important. In Minaz, can you share that question, that last one, that the entry-level jobs are being outsourced or lower?
Yeah, sure.
And we're using up their water and doing pretty horrific things. Yeah.
We got 30 seconds, Han. We got to deal with
30 seconds. No, we can go over a minute or two. I believe this. I believe this is true. I think it's kind of, it's deplorable. What do y'all think? I Polly, I know your politics, so I would love to.
Exactly. I think in other situations, we would be turning to government to enact laws that protect us and other people. We're unfortunately not in a situation where the current administration is going to do that, right? They've definitely been clear about deregulation over regulation. And so I definitely do worry, especially for entry-level jobs right now. And that's why I said get in by hook or by crook. I've seen people encouraging people, forget about jobs, just go run your own company. I'm like, that is really bad advice for folks just graduating from college, because I think subject matter expertise, even in just how business systems run and how the world works and how human systems get things done, is what you want to see that firsthand, right? So this is where gaining skills around data, around AI, are important, so that you can get into places where you're going to learn and gain that subject matter expertise.
Thank you, Polly. All right, since we're a minute over, and I want to end on a happy note, and the proof is in kind of the real what's happening in the real world. And my girl Minaz had been looking for work for a very long time. Minaz, are you seeing an uptick in job postings and interest?
Yeah, I definitely see that, and I know that it's like getting more and more as we getting like to the new year and getting closer to the new year, and like they're gonna be like, just my advice is to like learn the basics of AI ethics, like prompt engineering, and you got it. Yeah, you can get the job. Yeah, I did, so
Fantastic.
you can do too.
I'll say I think you need to grind harder than that, but that's a whole other subject. So
Yeah,
we're out of time. So I adore you all, Harsha and Polly. Like,
Thank
you
you,
are
and everyone, Harsha.
my original AI crew. Thank you for being here, and everybody, find the two of them online. It will definitely improve your chances of having success if you know them. So thank you all. And don't forget, mid-month, we have rapid fire portfolio critiques with Rupa Chaturvedi, the godmother of AI UX. She will in 2 minutes, she will give you insights that will help you improve your portfolio. That we promise. And I just want to share, we also, and I've been waiting a long time to share this, we have, if you don't know who he is, you better go look, because I call him the most important follow on LinkedIn. Next month we have Reuven Cohen, and I think it's I'm such a wild fangirl of his. So thank you again.
He's
all
an AI engineer, yeah?
He is one of the very few people deploying truly autonomous agents out in the world. He is next level. Yeah. So yeah, and I will definitely be sharing and posting about all those things. So thank you all for showing up. Thank you, Harsha. Thank you, Polly. And
thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.